All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be looking at Spain, the Holy Roman Empire, and a little bit on Russia. All right, so starting out, as you can see, we are taking a look at Spain. For those of you who are not sure geographically where it is, if you're looking at a map of Europe, it is the peninsula that comes off from the bottom of France in the southwest of Europe. It's, north of Morocco, south of France, and it's like clamped around Portugal, the left side of the Mediterranean Sea. All right, so to begin, before the Crusades, which are those holy wars, Christian versus Muslim, with the Jews thrown in the mix, the Christians in Spain have been fighting a long, long war against the Muslims to try and reconquer Spain and make it Christian again. And this will be going on for a couple hundred years, and it's going to come to an end in the late 1400s when Spain becomes like one of the leading powers in Europe, if not the top. It's like in top three, and that is because of the rulers Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile. They were the two most powerful kingdoms in Christian Spain. They would unite through this marriage, and they would basically reconquer Spain for Christianity. All right. So, coming down later on with their family line, we're going to get Charles Habsburg, who is going to be the Holy Roman Emperor, which when we get to the Holy Roman Empire, that'll help figure out where he comes from a little bit. He would also eventually become the King of Spain. So not only is he in charge in Germany, he's also in charge in Spain. So this is going to make the Habsburgs one of the single most powerful families to have ever held any type of power in Europe in all of human history. All right, so this is also going to be the guy who's going to like encourage a lot of exploration and conquest in the New World. So like when we get to that type of stuff, later on with the World History 2 information, this guy's this guy given the okay was very important for the later conquests in like Mexico and South America. All right. Holy Roman Empire. As you can see from that map, that's basically modern day Germany down into a huge chunk of Italy. So to begin, Germany is basically a confederation of small Germanic kingdoms that are, being run by rulers who have a lot of powerful nobles that they have to contend with and basically wheel and deal for their power with. Now, we're going to get this guy, a German king named Otto the First. He is basically going to help the Pope out, so the Pope is going to help him out in return, making him the first Holy Roman Emperor. And what this does is it becomes like an elected position, sort of like between the chief rulers of the Holy Roman Empire, like the princes of the empire, and making one of them the top guy to go to who makes a lot of the major decisions, like the president to the state governors type of deal. All right. But there's going to be a lot of tension between the Holy Roman Emperor and the Pope because the rules aren't completely solid for what the position allows them to do and not to do when it comes to the church. All right. This kind of just gets into some of the weirdness of that. So you can just take a sec to read that. I'm not going to go into it. It's really not too much that you need to worry about. All right. And during Middle Ages, the Holy Roman Empire is the largest political entity. It is the largest kingdom in Europe. Like that is like the main part of Europe because we are also going to have Russia to talk about. Russia today is the single largest country in the world. And that all basically is going to get a beginning during the medieval period. Now, talking about Russia, one of the most important people is Ivan the Great. He's one of those major founding figures for Russia. And he is the Prince of Muscovy, which would later be Moscow, the modern day capital. Ivan III Vasilievich, and yeah, so that's his full name, Ivan III Vasilievich. All right, so this area had been conquered by the Mongols. They were a nomadic, barbarian-esque people from Central Asia, like just north of China. Very, very rapid expansion and conquest, very brutal people. But this guy, he is like one who got them out of the area where his kingdom is. So he is then going to expand and centralize power in Moscow, in his city, under his rule. And we get the Russian nation founded from this. Now, the Tsar. This term comes from Caesar, so Tsar, Caesar, which means emperor. So Russia, they didn't have kings, they had emperors, which were the Tsars. Now, they had small but effective bureaucracy, so like committees and things like that were in charge of different areas, but they were completely loyal to the Tsar and no one else. They would also give a lot of estates to people to continue military service in return for that land. Basically, like the medieval feudal system, Russia had their own version that's almost the exact same. All right, and when we get to the 1500s, we get regular infantry armed with firearms. So the firearm doesn't come into Russia basically until the 1500s, whereas other places we're getting in the 13 and 1400s, more into the 1400s. The 1500s, it was like a big gun boom, no pun intended. But yeah, a lot more guns reincorporated into militaries come the 1500s. Now, come the 1500s, the Tsars, they have an army of their own that, they didn't have to depend on the nobles to muster the troops. They now had like a professional army, and they could contend with at least some of the other European countries. And of course, just to state it once again, all the power is in the hands of the Tsar. Right? This picture, I guess you could say, kind of solidifies that. Like, the Tsar there, he's pointing at somebody he don't like. We got people pulling up axes and swords, getting ready to, do the Tsar's bidding. All right. Now, one of the biggest unifying factors is the Orthodox Church. Later on, we will be talking about what the Orthodox Church even is. And so that will be actually next week that we get to talk about that. So no worries, it's all going to fall into place what the Orthodox Church is, but just know that the Church, even though it's not the Catholic Church, is still a unifying piece for the people in Russia, just like Catholicism is in places like Italy and France and Germany and Spain. All right, so one little fun tidbit. The cathedral that you see there on the right, that is St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow. It's in Red Square. It's like right next door to the Kremlin, which is the big political building there. This was, the Russian Tsar Ivan IV, also known as Ivan the Terrible, he wanted this built. And one of the little urban legends about that is he asked the architect if he could design a building more beautiful than this cathedral. And the architect, of course, not wanting to say no to the Tsar, especially one who has a nasty reputation of being a very violent man, was like, sure, yeah, I can do that. Wrong answer. The Tsar, he goes, yeah, no, you're not going to do that. So we had the architect's eyes plucked out of his head. So, yeah, just a fun little tidbit. I like to throw those in there every once in a while. But all right, So that's going to do it for today. And when we come back tomorrow, we will be taking a look at the Crusades, the holy wars between Christianity and Islam.